Hello and welcome to video 6 of the grade 1 bundle. Today we're going to be looking at factors, multiples and prime numbers. So a factor is a number that divides exactly into another number. For example, the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 12. Now often when I'm writing factors of a number, I like to write them in pairs, and that's to stop me from forgetting any. So I would normally write 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, and the next factor of 12 is 4. But I wouldn't write 4 times 3 underneath because that's just a repeat. And the minute I see I'm about to repeat, I stop. I can then write those 6 numbers in order as I have above here. Now a multiple is a number that exists in the times tables of another number. For example, 7, 14, 28 and 35 are all multiples of 7. So we would say that 35 was a multiple of 7. 7 is also a multiple of 7. It's the first multiple of 7. Now a prime number is a number that only has 2 factors, and this is really important, this bit. Those 2 factors have to be the number 1 and then itself. What I mean by that, the number 13 only has 2 factors, 1 and 13. The number 2 only has 2 factors, 1 and 2. The number 5 only has 2 factors, 1 and 5. Notice how those 2 factors must be 1 and itself. So 13 is a factor of 13, so is 1, and no other number is a factor. This is what makes those numbers prime. Now be careful, sometimes exams like to trick you by asking if the number 1 is a prime number. Now the only number that goes into 1 is 1. That's why I said this is so important. For it to be a prime number, it has to have 2 factors, and the number 1 only has 1 factor. Therefore, it is not prime. So here's a question for you to try. Pause the video and have a go. And when you're ready for the answers, press play. Question A asks you to list all the multiples of 6 from the numbers listed above in the cloud. Now I can see that 6 is a multiple of 6. So that's in this section here. I can also see that 12 is a multiple of 6. Now the next multiple of 6 is 18, but that's not inside the cloud. And 24, but that's not inside the cloud. And then the biggest number in the cloud is 27, so I know that for multiples of 6, I'm finished. The second question asked me to list the factors of 12. Now we already went through that in one of the first slides, so hopefully you should be able to spot them quite quickly. First of all, 3 is a factor of 12 because 3 times 4 is 12. 4 is also a factor of 12. 12 is a factor of 12. 6 is in the list, which is a factor of 12. And I think we are done. Question C asks you to list the factors of 20. Now I know that 1 times 20 is 20, so I'm looking in the cloud for 1 and 20, but they're not there. I also know that 2 times 10 is 20, but there's no 2 and there's no 10. 3 doesn't go into 20, but 4 does. 4 times 5 is 20, and oh look, both of those are in the list. The next factor of 20 is 5, and 5 times 4 is 20, but I've just repeated myself, so I'm going to stop here. That means that the only numbers that are factors of 20 inside that cloud are 4 and 5. D. To list all the multiples of 4. Now the first multiple of 4 is 4. We then have 8, which happens to be in the list. We then have 12, which happens to be in the list. We then have 16, which again happens to be in the list. The next multiple of 4 is 20, but that's not there. 24, that's not there. And 28, it doesn't go up that high. Finally, question E asks us to list the prime numbers. Now I know that 3 is a prime number because it only has 2 factors, 1 and itself. I also know that 5 is a prime number because it only has two factors, 1 and itself. 4 can't be because it's an even number. 16, 8, 12 and 6 cannot be prime because they are even numbers, which means that 2 definitely goes into them. And if 2 goes into them, then it can't be a prime because a prime number only has 1 and itself. In fact, the only even prime number is the number 2 because every even number after the number 2 is a multiple of 2. So the final thing is to consider 27. Now I know that 1 times 27 is 27, but I also know that 3 times 9 is 27. So that again, that's more than two factors. It cannot be a prime. So these are my answers. Here's a question for you to try. Pause the video and press play when you're ready for the answers. Question A asks you to list a multiple of 4. So that can be any multiple of 4. And if I look at the numbers above, I can see that 12 is a multiple of 4. Are there any other multiples of 4 there? No. So the only potential answer to question A is 12. B asks you to list a multiple of 9. Now I can see that 9 is in the list above. So that is a potential answer. If you put 18, that is also a potential answer. If you put 81, that is also a multiple of 9. So any one of those 3 answers would be correct. A factor of 21, remember, means a number that goes into. So straight away I know that 3 goes into 21 because 3 times 7 is 21. And that is the only answer, just 3. For D, a factor of 18. I know that 6 goes into 18 because 6 times 3 is 18. I know that 9 goes into 18 because 2 times 9 is 18. I know that 3 goes into 18 because 6 times 3 is 18. So they are both factors of 18. And I'm finished. So finally then, E, a prime number. Well, first I can get rid of all of the even numbers because as we discussed before, an even number above 2 is not prime. I can get rid of 81 because I know that 9 times 9 is 81, therefore it's not a prime. And I can get rid of 3 because I know that 3 times 3 is 9, which means the two numbers I have left are 3 and 11. These are my prime numbers. Now a square number is the result of a number times by itself. For example, 3 by 3 is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Doesn't matter how you say it, but 3 timed by itself. Okay, so 9 is what we would call the square number. And we would call the 3 the square root. So for example, if somebody said, what is a square number? You would say a number that is the result of a different number timed by itself. Okay, a cube number is the result of a number timed by itself twice. So 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, as we learned above, and 9 times 3 is 27. Therefore, 27 is the cube number, and we would say that 3 was the cube root. Now, how this looks is 3 squared is 9, but the square root of 9 is 3. 3 cubed is 27, but the cubed root of 27 is 3. Here's a question for you to try. Pause the video, have a go, and press play when you're ready for the answer. So from the numbers in the cloud, we need to write down a square number. So I know that 1 times 1 is 1, but 1 is not in the cloud. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 is in the cloud. You could have also written 16 because 4 times 4 is 16. B, the square root of 16. Now, if 16 is the square number, once you've times 4 by 4, then the square root of 16 is 4. And there's only one correct answer for that, and it's 4. The cube of 2 means 2 times 2 times 2. Now 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So 8 is the only correct answer in this case. And a prime number, if I start by crossing off all of my even numbers above 2, I'm only left with the number 2. And as discussed before, 2 is the only even prime number. Have a go at this challenge question. Press pause and then press play again when you're ready for the answer. You're given a list of numbers and asked from the list to write down an odd number. Now, an odd number is any number that is not a multiple of 2. So it could have been 5, or it could have been 13. You're then asked to write a multiple of 6. So counting up in multiples of 6, we have 6, which is not in the list, 12, which is not in the list, 18, which is in the list, and it doesn't go any higher than that. Then you're asked to write down a square number. So starting from number 1. 1 times 1 is 1, that's not there. 2 times 2 is 4, that's not there. 3 times 3 is 9, that's not there. 4 times 4 is 16, that one is there. 5 times 5 is 25, but it doesn't go that high, so we're finished. The final question says, Erin says that 8 is a prime number. Erin is wrong, explain why. Now the first thing I would do is I would break 8 down into its factors. So I can get 8 from doing 1 times 8 or 2 times 4. The fact that it has 4 multiples, 1, 2, 4, and 8, tells me that it is not prime, okay? And the answer is it has more than 2 factors. Well done! You've completed video 6 of 7. You've nearly completed the whole of the grade 1 bundle. So now you can watch video number 7.